Stop trying to be the perfect Christian. I have recently seen Christians condemning other Christians on social media for making mistakes. We have this huge tug and pull that creates such a divide in the church. It doesn't make people want to come to God. We're supposed to show people God's love and righteous judgment. So stop saying they're doing this and that wrong and actually give advice based on God's word. Because when you're just saying, oh, you're not acting like a Christian, you're doing this, and that, you're da da da, it's not helping. You're not helping. You're making it so much worse for other people. Okay, so we upgraded to a different place. Now for our introspective topic, we're going to be doing the weight of judgment versus the gift of grace. So I feel like, for me at least, when you're like first starting to get closer to God and you're not really doing like a revamp of your socials or anything like that, like I'm still in the midst of doing that, but you don't really know what to do. Like, you just want to get close to God, you just want to talk to Him, you're still doing the worldly stuff, you don't really know where you fit right now. I feel like people can be super judgmental, especially in the Christian community, because you don't know where you are right now. But I think we need to focus more on helping people evolve and get closer instead of judging them for not being close or as close as you are to God. You know what I mean? Like, why is it a battle or a competition? We're supposed to be in this together. Get a piece of paper and a pen. I'm looking on my iPad. I want you to reflect on instances where you felt judged by others within the Christian community. Consider moments where you might have judged others too. And I want you to write down how it made you feel and if that judgment pushed you towards God or away from God. Now, after you do that, we're just going to talk about righteous discernment versus condemning people. Righteous discernment is using God's teachings to help you have the ability to judge properly, distinguish, and make determinations. It involves understanding God's will and aligning it with one's moral/wise decisions. And now, harsh condemnation is focusing on flaws, declaring someone guilty, deserving of punishment, and ultimately separation from God, often stemming from disobedience and sin. Now for our activity, we're going to do the broken mirror exercise. Now this might be uncomfortable for some of you guys, but I do encourage you to do it. I know that some of you guys don't even like looking in the mirror or what you look like, and we're going to focus on that in one episode, but for today, please try and do the activity. For materials, you need a small mirror, a marker or piece of tape, a journal, or a notebook. So step 1 is reflect. You're going to look into the mirror, acknowledge your own imperfections, both visible and internal. Then you're going to write down 2 to 3 things you perceive as flaws or areas where you fall short. Step 2 is mark. Using the marker or tape, place a small mark on the mirror to symbolize those imperfections. Step 3 is grace. Now look at the mirror again. Instead of focusing on the mark, try to see yourself as God sees you, loved, forgiven, and being transformed. Write down 2 to 3 of God's positive attributes that can be reflected in you. For example, God's love, mercy, or forgiveness. Now you're going to journal. In your journal, write down the following. How did it feel to acknowledge your imperfections? How did it change your perspective to focus on God's grace instead? What are some practical ways you can extend the same grace to others in your life? And the next step is action. Commit to one specific action this week that demonstrates grace towards someone you might have previously judged. This could be offering encouragement, extending forgiveness, or simply listening without judgment. Now we're going to do Bible study. By the way, I think I'm taking my hair out today. I don't know, I think it's done. We're going to focus on John 7:24. So the little backstory to this is that Jesus goes to the Festival of Tabernacles and he kind of sneaks in or goes like a little bit undercover because he knows that some of the leaders there are trying to like plot to kill him. So he didn't want to make it a whole thing. But in the middle of the festival, he starts teaching. So Jesus is talking to the leaders, and basically he's like, you do these specific things on the Sabbath, right? According to Moses' law. But Moses' law is according to my law, so come on, we're locked in. He basically saved this guy who couldn't walk on the Sabbath. He was like, take up your mat and walk. Go, get up out of here, right? And he took up his mat and walked. And so the leaders were like, yo, what are you doing? You can't do that on the Sabbath. So what he is bringing up here is like, if you can do that, you can do a bunch of other stuff on the Sabbath. according to Moses' law, then why can't I save someone and help someone in need? Aren't those two things connected? Don't they go together? So John 7:24, he says, "Do not judge by appearances, but judge with righteous judgment." Jesus was confronting the hypocrisy of the religious leaders who were judging him based off outward appearances and their preconceived notions of the laws as well. He was urging them to look beyond superficial impressions and to make judgment based on the truth principles and a correct understanding of God's will. So we can definitely use this now, especially since we have a lot of biases. So if you see someone like sinning and doing a specific sin that you used to do, I feel like we're more judgmental or harsh on them because we say what we wish we would have said to ourselves, but that's not what they need to hear. What they need to hear is God's word. Maybe they want advice, godly advice, not just condemning everybody for doing whatever they're doing, and a way to move forward. So when you're thinking about how you want to respond to someone's TikTok of maybe they're not sharing the right words of God or they don't know where they're supposed to be a little more considerate and kind, Try and see it from their point of view and make sure you're using God's character to distinguish how you're going to respond. So that's all for today's episode. I will see you guys in episode 7. Bye. I love you.